Good evening. My name is Karl Peterjohn, and I appreciate each and every one of you coming out tonight and participating in this important event as we lead up to August 7th. My background, first off, I'm married for over 20 years. I have 2 children, 2 adopted children. So the life issue is important to me. And let me add, because this time last year I was out at Camp Kansas, a Cub Scout camp with my son, and I'm so glad that we've got much better weather for all of us to be out campaigning this year than was last year. But I am an Eagle Scout. My academic background, I'm a graduate of Ohio University with 2 degrees, graduated with honors, have a master's degree in economics. I'm the only candidate for county commission who has a proven track record of working on behalf of taxpayers and worked very hard for 15 years in my role with the Kansas Taxpayers Network, helping get property tax relief passed up in Topeka in 1997 and 98, and helping keep Sedgwick County under the tax lid until the state removed that provision a couple of years later. I also have a proven record in international business. I worked for a computer company for about 10 years, and I was even once a government budget analyst too. So I think I bring some real qualifications that have made some accomplishments occur in the 3.5 years I've had the privilege and honor of being the Sedgwick County Commissioner for District 3, which is basically West Wichita and everything west of 119th Street, as long as it's not in the city of Mays or Ninneskah and Clearwater, Ninneskah Township and Clearwater. Accomplishments that we've had since I've been on the County Commission include, we've got the county checkbook online. It's available and open to everyone. We have the highest credit rating. According to Standard & Poor's, Fitch, and Moody's, Sedgwick County's credit rating is not only higher than all the other governmental bodies here in Sedgwick County, we're higher than the United States government. And your property taxes are lower today than they were 3 years ago.
Yeah!
The Sedgwick County property tax. Now that's maybe not your entire tax bill, because I can't control what other taxing entities do. But check me out. It's online. The records are there for the county clerk. And I am the only candidate who's been campaigning since the 1990s saying that there should be no property tax hikes without voter approval. If we want to bring jobs to this community, we need more certainty on taxes. I support Sam Brownback's tax reform package. I am so glad that we have conservative fiscal leadership in Topeka. I've been trying to bring that leadership here at Sedgwick County. I think I've done a good job, an outstanding job, and I appreciate your support August 7th. Thank you.
I'm Jeff Longwell, and I'm running for County Commission, and hopefully in the next 3 minutes I can share with you why I think I deserve your support. One of the things that you're going to be able to do with this particular race that you haven't been able to do in so many races in the past is both candidates have voting records. I want to share part of my accomplishments with you in a minute, but we have been campaigning on a variety of issues, and you're going to hear us talk about who's the most conservative and who's the most fiscal responsible on taking care of your tax dollars. I want to share some of that, but the reality is the proudest thing as far as I'm concerned that I've done with my life is raise a wonderful family. I have a wife that will be celebrating 32 years of marriage this year, and we have 3 wonderful children who are all successful. Our daughter who's 30 years old and twin boys who are identical that our neighbors still have trouble telling them apart. They're 26 years old. One's a aerospace engineer and one's a high school science teacher. It makes me very proud to see my family doing quite well, my children doing better than what we're doing, and I think that's what we would all like to see. I spent 12 years on the May School Board. When I started on the May School Board, we had about 3,000 students. When I left the May School Board, because I had the fortune to get elected to the Wichita City Council, we had 6,000 students. We doubled that district in the 12 years that I was out there. We put more money in the classroom. We gave teachers better pay every year that I was out there, and most of the years we lowered the mill levy. You can go check that out. It's part of public record. So pretty proud of the reputation that I was able to be a part of. I spent 4 of those years on the May School Board in leadership positions. My colleagues selected me as vice president 2 years and president of the May School Board for 2 years. I have been on the city council for the last 5 years. I'm pretty proud of what we've been able to do. When people sit up here and talk about how conservative they are, let me share with you what we've done. When I first got elected to the city council, one of the things that I was afforded was a tour of City Hall. Toured the basement of City Hall, and we had a printing operation. I've been in the graphics business for 30 years. Our printing operation in the basement of City Hall had antiquated equipment. I don't think our employees had the best training, and I was able to convince my colleagues that it's better to privatize those opportunities because we've got great industry in Wichita. We've privatized printing, and we saved $500,000 by doing that. We've privatized our mowing operations, and we save $1 million annually. We've got to do more of that. We have balanced our city budget every year for the last 5 years, balanced it without tapping into a penny of our emergency reserves. We've got $25 million set in reserves. We haven't touched a penny because we've made smart decisions. We've privatized, we've consolidated. The county can't say that. They've had to dip into their reserves to balance their budget. So you're going to get an opportunity to truly tell who's the conservative and who's taking care of your tax dollars. I think I've earned that. Thank you.
Do you support taking federal government planning grants like the HUD grant as in the REAP did, and why?
Good question. There's a couple of different answers to that. First off, our Congressman Mike Pompeo offered up some legislation recently that if local governments turn down federal grants, that money should go back into paying off our tremendous debt burden. That hasn't happened yet. What happens today if you turn it down? They turn around and they give it to your neighbor. And so until we have something in place that will truly help us move that debt issue in the right direction, I'm not going to penalize our citizens and turn down that money because I'm an ideologue. I'm going to fight for our citizens so we can take care of that. The big issue, especially in western Sedgwick County, and I've been working on this for 5 years. We have an issue with stormwater. We have an issue with flooding out in that part of the county. What that grant will enable us to do is bring those communities, the Colwiches, the Andels, the Mount Hopes, the Cheneys, because we're all in that same basin. And they don't have the luxury of having planners on staff. We can come together with that grant and plan together as a community like we need to be planning and conquer that problem of west side flooding. That's one of the ways that we can get there. Now, Congressman Pompeo is successful at some point in time. I hope we can start turning down that money and pay down that national debt that's horrendous. But until then, we're going to fight for our citizens and get every dollar that they deserve.
Well, this is also known as a sustainability grant. And in 2009, in January of 2009, when President Obama took office and became president, we had an expansion of a whole bunch of federal programs. And the sustainability or HUD EPA Department of Transportation grant that it's part of was one of those grants. And I absolutely agree that Congressman Pompeo's legislation is much needed, and we need it now. But 3 times this has come up before the Sedgwick County Commission, and the first time it came up, a bipartisan majority of us voted it down 3-2. It's come up twice since then, and it's been approved 3-2. Folks, the federal government doesn't have any money. They're going to borrow it from China, and we're going to dump it as a legacy onto our children. It is time to begin here. People ask, how? I say, now. And I think it is absolutely incumbent upon us as local officials, when there is waste from Washington. But what is particularly pernicious about this grant, this is the first step in a planning grant. The next step would be we were going to let the federal government have a bigger role in local planning decisions when we get in the operational side. And this is all part of the Obama agenda as part of the smart growth sustainability concepts out there. And I think that's wrong too. And if you believe that these local decisions should stay local, there's only one candidate you should vote for August 7th, and that is me. Thank you.
Why did you support or oppose the Ambassador Hotel vote?
I think that this is an important question because this is an area where there is a difference. I petitioned as part of the community effort so that voters would have a say. I believe that the Kansas Constitution provision saying all power is inherent in the people. I was glad that we petitioned and the petition drive was successful. The voters had a say whether additional taxpayer subsidies should be provided to the Ambassador Hotel or not. And I was in opposition to this. I did not lead the movement. I did follow the issue closely. I think it's very important that the developer community, we have a system that's fair for everyone, not just the favored few. And we have a system whereby there's skin in the game, as people in the development community like to say when it comes to development issues, and that you just can't layer subsidy on subsidy on subsidy, and basically, if there's any profits, it goes to the private sector, and if there's losses, the taxpayer foots the bill. So I was very, very pleased that at least one part, and it was actually only one of several, actually got to the voters, and the voters were able to express their opinion. And I was part of the 62% majority that voted against that subsidy, and I was glad that it got resolved February 28th by the voters here in Wichita.
Let me start out by saying that I am thrilled with how that turned out. The people got to share their voice with us, and we're still building a hotel. Now, my opponent talks about incentives. He voted for incentives for Bombardier. He voted for incentives for a company to move from South Wichita to Colwich, so he can't talk about not voting for incentives. But let me tell you, as I mentioned before, I'm the candidate that has balanced the budget without tapping into any reserves. My opponent can't say that. But we're not going to cut our way out of this mess. We're going to grow our way out of this mess. And the only way we're going to grow our way out of this mess is fight for those opportunities. Like I said, I'm thrilled that the people got to vote on that. That thrills me because that's the democratic way. And we're still getting opportunities that our community deserves.